Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. We'd just like to thank you for taking the time to attend the session today on the acknowledgement of receipt for agency purchased vehicles. If we can go to the next slide. I will be presenting today. My name is Amber Robles, and I am the Offering Management Branch Chief with GSA Fleet. And along with me today to help present is Sam Abbott, who is a member of the Offering Management Branch. So Sam's actually going to get us started, and then I will jump in a bit later in the presentation. So I'll turn it over to you, Sam.
All right, thank you, Amber. And good afternoon, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. Today in this presentation, we'll be going over a little bit of the background on the new process to meet financial requirements of a three-way match of a vehicle, outline the current requirements for acknowledging vehicle receipt for the agency-owned vehicles, walk through the process of registering vehicles in GSA Fleet or acknowledging receipt of vehicles in Auto Choice, discuss the best practices for receiving and registering your agency-owned vehicles, share some helpful resources to help you throughout the process, as well as answer any questions that you may have about this requirement and or the process. All right, so for a little bit of background information on the customer acknowledgement process, customer acknowledgement of vehicle receipt has always been a requirement that GSA has allowed for a set period of time to pass to then indicate that vehicles have been acceptance and occurred, and it did not always require customer action. That was due to legacy system constraints and business process limitations that prevented active acceptance. Our newly designed GSA Fleet.gov modernization system is going to remove some of those barriers, and we've implemented a new three-way match process that was launched last July. Since the launch of our three-way match process, our customers purchasing agency-owned vehicles must now confirm that they've received and accepted their vehicles prior to GSA releasing payment to the suppliers. The new process meets our financial requirements of a three-way match, which includes 1, the valid customer order being present, 2, an invoice from the supplier, which is processed through the Department of Treasury's invoice payment platform, and then 3, the acknowledged acceptance from the customer that the vehicle was received. This new process is going to comply with federal government contracting and accounting regulations. Your prompt attention and acknowledgement is critical to helping us and our taxpayers avoid any unnecessary payment delays and interest penalties or storage fees. All right, for meeting this requirement, we do encourage customers to routinely track the status of their vehicles in Auto Choice. Also remain proactive and following up on vehicle statuses as needed. That can include any vehicles that are not delivered beyond the contract shipment date that's listed in Auto Choice. Vehicles usually should arrive within that time frame unless the supplier has submitted an order modification that extends the delivery date. Any vehicles that have been in a ship status for an extended period of time can also be checked in to see what the status is. And vehicles that show delivered, but contact has not been initiated by the dealership for the customer to come and pick up the vehicle. We've had several instances of vehicles sitting on dealer lots for extended period of times, and that can delay the acceptance and acknowledgement process for that vehicle. Customers can reach out to us in the vehicle buying team, vehiclebuying.gsa.gov, to follow up on vehicle statuses, report delivery issues, whether that's incorrect delivery location, missing equipment like keys or any of the other items that should have been with the vehicle, and we'd be happy to assist with that. All right, the requirement on the customer end is going to be making sure that once the customer is notified that the vehicle has been delivered, making sure to coordinate picking that up as promptly as possible. And upon receiving the vehicles, customers should acknowledge receipt within 3 days. This is a process that's very easy, and there's 2 ways of customers acknowledging vehicle receipt. The best way to complete that action is going to be registering the vehicles in gsafleet.gov. In addition to facilitating payment to our suppliers, there are other legal and national security implications, which we'll outline a little later in the presentation. For vehicles that are unable to be registered in gsafleet.gov, there is also an option to acknowledge receipt in Auto Choice. These actions will satisfy the requirement of the three-way match, and that ensures that the invoice from the vendor is then paid. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ever.
Okay, thanks, Sam. So next we'll cover the different ways that Sam outlined for either registering your vehicle in gsafleet.gov or acknowledging receipt in GSA Auto Choice. And so first we'll go over the preferred method, which would be to register the vehicle in gsafleet.gov. By registering your vehicle in gsafleet.gov, you are essentially formally accepting receipt of the vehicle. We won't go into the specifics, but there is a comprehensive user guide, the vehicle registration guide, that provides detailed guidance on the registration process. And this guide covers how to create a gsafleet.gov account and how to log into the system. It will walk you through the license plate reconciliation process. License plate orders and individual license plates must be placed into receive status prior to vehicle registration. So that will be one of your first steps. The guide also covers license plate reporting. So any license plates that are missing or damaged will need to be updated accordingly in gsafleet.gov. It will cover license plate destruction, and this includes instructions on how to request a shipping label and the steps that you would need to follow to return the plates for destruction. It provides comprehensive step-by-step guidance on how to register both your standard and your non-standard vehicles that have been purchased. And then also provides instructions on how to go about updating your vehicle registration information should you need to do so at any point in time, how to print the vehicle registration cards, and then also how to export vehicle data. If you have any questions as you work through this process with registering your vehicles in gsafleet.gov, you can email them to fleet.helpdesk@gsa.gov, and they would be more than happy to assist. Our next slide covers the 3 reasons to prioritize registering your vehicles in gsafleet.gov. So the first is that it's the law. The federal management regulation that's outlined here clearly states about this requirement to register motor vehicles. The second is that gsafleet.gov's new registration feature automatically serves as receipt of your vehicle. So by completing that registration, you are acknowledging that you have received the vehicle. Registering your vehicle in gsafleet.gov promptly ensures that our vehicle suppliers are paid within the contract terms, officially creating the delivery event in the GSA financial system, and make sure that everything's paid and everyone's happy. Registered vehicles help maintain national security, and unregistered vehicles impose a risk to law enforcement officials as well as drivers. gsafleet.gov provides a message to law enforcement officials when any U.S. government vehicles are queried through the national law enforcement telecommunication systems or inlets. Information provided on registered vehicles includes make, model, and color, and this assists law enforcement officials with verifying a vehicle that everything is good before they were to approach a vehicle. There are situations where you may not be able to register your vehicle right away in gsafleet.gov, and a lot of our customers are a bit more familiar with acknowledging receipt of their vehicles in Auto Choice. So this is another option that at this time is currently available to customers. So you would just want to log into GSA Auto Choice. You would hover over the Your History menu and then click on Vehicle Receipt. This would take you to a screen where you are able to filter your orders by certain criteria. The easiest way would be to input the case number or your RPN number and then click on the search button. And then on the next slide, it shows the screen that will pop up when you complete your search. On this screen, you're able to review the order information that would be over on your left. It includes the current order status. You would then use the calendar to select the date that the vehicles were received, and then you would click on the Save button. So it's very simple, and by completing those steps, this would complete the vehicle acknowledgement process within GSA Auto Choice. So on our next slide, and this is something that some of you may be aware of, is we've been undergoing an effort to clear the invoice backlog. So since this new three-way match process was implemented back in July of 2023, there were a significant number of outstanding invoices from our vehicle suppliers, which has caused a lot of financial hardship for many of our suppliers. So in January, we provided the vehicle suppliers with a full list of what we showed as outstanding invoices for each of the suppliers through a spreadsheet. And we asked that they take the time to confirm the delivery dates and the delivery times for all of the vehicles that have been invoiced against. Suppliers were in various stages working with vehicle suppliers. Some have already returned their spreadsheets and we're awaiting others. But as we receive the spreadsheets that have been returned from the vehicle suppliers, we are completing a random sampling from each, where we ask them to actually provide the proof of delivery for a certain number of the vehicles that have been invoiced against. And then we're confirming those for accuracy. And once we confirm that things look accurate, we are moving forward with acknowledging receipt for all vehicles on the supplier spreadsheet. This is a one-time action to clear the backlog. And then we do ask that all future acknowledgement be completed by the customer in a timely manner upon receipt of the vehicle. We also, if you have not already received an email indicating that this action has been taken on your behalf, you should be receiving that shortly. And if there are any concerns at all regarding this action, if you notice that we've marked something as delivered and received that's not, please contact our team at vehicle.buying@gsa.gov. And we will look into this and try to get the issue resolved as quickly as possible. So on our next slide, we're taking a look ahead at where do we go from here once we have the invoice backlog cleared. So in the short term, our plan is to provide customer training, which is what we're doing in our session today, as well as provide vehicle supplier training. So our vehicle supplier training is going to focus on the need for more accurate and timely vehicle status updates, so that when you are looking in Auto Choice at the status of a particular vehicle, as we're encouraging you to do, that you would be able to see a timely status update of where that vehicle is in the process, and can keep a close eye on your vehicles. We'll also be talking to them about not invoicing prior to them confirming vehicle delivery, because we have experienced several instances and unfortunately may continue to see more until we've all been brought up to speed on this new process. But we really want to make sure that they're not submitting those invoices and that we're not taking action on anything with acknowledging receipt if the vehicles actually have not been delivered. And then we're also encouraging them to work with their dealerships to make sure that they're contacting customers in a timely manner upon the vehicles being delivered to the dealership, because we have seen several instances where vehicles are sitting on dealership lots for extended periods of time where there hasn't been contact. In addition, as we move forward, customers should acknowledge vehicle receipt, as we're outlining today, by either registering the vehicle in gsafleet.gov or acknowledging receipt in GSA Auto Choice. We don't want to get in a position, again, however, where we have this type of significant backlog on invoices. So if no action is taken by the customer in the time period that's specified, we will continue to use confirmed delivery dates and times from the vehicle suppliers after again conducting a random sampling to confirm the accuracy. And then we will go ahead and proceed to complete the acknowledgement process on behalf of the customer if the action has not been taken, as I said, in a timely manner. Upon doing so, it's very important we recognize, and we are going to make sure to notify the customer whenever we have taken this action on the customer's behalf. We ask that customers immediately respond to the vehicle buying team at vehicle.buying@gsa.gov with any concerns or delivery exceptions. That could include situations where the dealership claims they don't have the vehicle. A vehicle might be delivered to the wrong delivery location. There could be situations of damage in transit or missing equipment that prevents the timely acceptance of the delivered vehicle. And our team will make sure that we get those issues addressed and try to get the vehicle in your hands as soon as possible. So on the next slide, this is looking a bit more ahead. So customers should would want to register their vehicles in gsafleet.gov within 3 days of taking possession of the vehicles. The reason that we're highlighting just the gsafleet.gov option is because many of you have probably heard that in the near future, Auto Choice will be decommissioned and we'll be ordering our vehicles through gsafleet.gov. So that would be the primary method of both ordering the vehicles and getting them registered and acknowledging that receipt. Looking ahead to the future, this will not be an immediate thing, but just looking ahead at what we could also do, we're looking to have automatic notifications to be sent to the customer via gsafleet.gov when vehicles are put into that delivered status in the system, just reminding the customer of the action that needs to be taken. And then if the action is not taken, we will be exploring the idea of potential repercussions for that. So this could include suspension of ordering rights, as well as the customer may be responsible for covering the interest that's incurred by the government. So next is just a list of the helpful resources and contacts to keep in mind as you're working through this process. There is the link to GSA Auto Choice, the link to gsafleet.gov, their vehicle registration guide and the vehicle purchasing guide, which are both very helpful to have saved and refer to as needed. And then for points of contact, if there are any issues with registering your vehicle in gsafleet.gov, you would want to reach out to fleet.helpdesk@gsa.gov. And then if there are any delivery exceptions or other types of issues, you would want to reach out to vehicle.buying@gsa.gov. So that concludes our presentation. I know it was pretty short and sweet, but at this time we can turn it over to any questions that you'd like to type in, and we will make sure that we get them all answered for you.
Yeah, Amber, if you and Sam want to jump on, I can read some of the questions and we can take them.
Sure.
So I'll start at the top here. There's one that says, we have several times where GSA has entered the delivery date in Auto Choice. We track ours closely, and when GSA updates Auto Choice for us, oftentimes we've actually not taken custody of the vehicle yet. And since Auto Choice has a date entered, we stop looking for the vehicle. So this causes an issue for our agency. So if you want to touch on that one, or if you want me to, I can too.
No, it's okay. So yes, this is one of obviously our biggest concerns. And we touched on this, I believe, throughout the presentation, that we have actually encountered instances where we have taken this action on behalf of the customer and they actually come back to us and say they don't have possession of the vehicle. So we do need to get these resolved in a timely manner. We do need to make sure that we get the vehicle supplier paid for vehicles that they're showing as delivered. But I think the key here, and Dan, you can jump in if you'd like, but I think the key here will be the immediate notification to customers. We do realize that this has been lacking a little bit as we've worked through this process. So that's going to be key, I think, is just after we take this action, if action has not been taken by the customer, we will notify you right away that that action has been taken and provide the RPNs and the VINs that we took action on. And then we would ask just that you follow up immediately with us on that. If you take a look and realize that you actually don't have that vehicle. And then we would try to follow up with the vehicle supplier to figure out what could be going on. We've had a lot of situations where it's just simply that the dealership has the vehicle on their lot and just hasn't contacted the customer. But if there are other situations that come up, our team can research and try to get it resolved.
Let's see. At the emails at the if I work through my regional office property manager, this is from Troy Catini, am I still able to submit a status update through vehicle buying, or should I continue working with my regional property manager?
I'll try to take that one.
Sure.
Yeah, from the vehicle buying side, I'd say the guidance on that would be to continue working with your regional office property manager. Oftentimes we have had situations where we have multiple people from the same agency contacting us about an order, and having just one point of contact can make it easier to get an update from the vendor, as well as providing an update back to the customer in an efficient manner. If there's anything else we'd like to say on that one.
No, I think that covers it. Thanks, Sam. I see a question in here about what is being done for agency-owned vehicles delivered to a dealership, which is not on the vehicle order. And the customer had a situation where the vehicle was delivered to a dealership that was not where it was supposed to go. So we've actually seen several instances of this. And we're not always aware unless it's brought to our attention. But when you do let us know, the vehicle buying team know, then what we're doing is immediately reaching out to the vehicle supplier to try to figure out what's going on and to get that vehicle diverted to where it's supposed to go. So we'll continue doing so. And we're also tracking how often this is happening with each of our suppliers. And we're reaching out and having those conversations with them as needed as well.
Next one there is what's being done for agency-owned vehicles delivered to a dealership that's not on the vehicle order. Had a situation where a vehicle was delivered to a dealership was not on the vehicle's order's delivery address. So yeah, we run into that as well, even with our orders as well, and we address those with the supplier. Sometimes they do that, or their delivery driveway companies do that without asking anybody really, or they just go to the wrong dealer. So if you run into that, the best thing to do is let us know. And we stay on top of them to make sure they're not doing that, but it just cases do happen with their contract delivery companies where they deliver them to the wrong address for one reason or another. But yeah, if you do run into that, just please do let us know as soon as you find out. I think Norma had another question there. What about delays due to vehicles with an exception and authorized to register a vehicle with the state to issue state license plates? Process can take from 2 weeks to 2 months, depending on the state. So I'm not sure. Maybe you can follow up on that, or you can email us and follow up on that one. I'm not sure where to go with that one.
Right. And yeah, I'm not sure either, but if you email us, we can definitely look into that. It's the first I've heard of that particular issue.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a matter of it will take you that long to get tags for a vehicle once it's delivered, then you know, that shouldn't be something that holds up picking the vehicle up from the dealership or the whatever location. We can't expect the vendors to sit on vehicles for us for reasons. Let's see. So there's one here from Hollis Jackson. It says, I recently received a vehicle, but waited for the acknowledgement. I assume that's what it means by waited. Waited because the order was not correct. In those cases, do we still enter the date received if we verify if the order is correct? So Yeah, I mean, you want to acknowledge receipt of the vehicle, even if it may not be exactly what you ordered, the order's not correct, and then you would just let us know that there's a problem with the order, that the vehicle is the wrong color, or you got the wrong equipment, or something like that. And then we would work with the vendor to say, hey, this vehicle got delivered, it's not the right vehicle. And then we'll go from there. And we have processes for that, that we can work out with the supplier to take care of that. But yeah, you would want to go ahead and acknowledge that you got the vehicle was, the order was delivered. A few questions in here.
Yeah. There's a question in there. I understand the backlog, but before updating auto choice, can vehicle buying ask if we have taken custody of the vehicle before updating auto choice? So we do understand this concern. And that was the way that we were actually approaching this prior to us realizing that the invoice backlog was just too staggering, basically, for us to, there were thousands of vehicles that were involved in that. And what we found is in an ideal situation, it would be great if we could complete that customer outreach to verify before doing it. But we're going to set some parameters there around it, and whatever they're confirmed, the vehicle supplier is confirming as delivery, we are going to allow a period of time for the customer to take that action prior to us doing so on their behalf. And we're going to try to add a little extra amount of days in there as well. So we're not just immediately taking action, but it is eliminating that middle step of having to wait. We were finding that we were reaching out to a lot of customers and they weren't promptly taking action. And then we were having to move in the direction anyway of then reaching out and trying to confirm delivery with the supplier. So what we're trying to do is just try to stay on top of this as much as we can to make sure that suppliers are getting paid in a timely manner, and that we're avoiding the interest accrued and storage fees, et cetera. So our plan, even though we do realize there will be exceptions to this, is to try to just move forward with, if the customer hasn't taken action and the supplier is confirming delivery, then we're going to go ahead and do that. But again, with the notification and the ask that if there is any type of concern, you reach out to vehicle buying, and we will do whatever we can to get that resolved in a timely manner and make sure that the vehicle is in your hands.
Right, there's one here. If we receive vehicles and put in the delivery date and GSA Advantage, I think maybe you mean auto choice, hopefully. If you put a delivery date in GSA, would they be registered, or would I need to get with my state fleet manager? So that was from Madison Williams. So that would be if you're registering with state tags like undercover type use, then that would be something that your agency would have to do. But whether you actually register the vehicle in gsafleet.gov or not is a different thing than getting state tags on it. But just putting the delivery date in auto choice does not register your vehicle.
Yeah, that's the other thing to highlight here, is that when we're talking here about just getting the acknowledgement of receipt and getting the vehicle supplier paid and then the customer billed for the vehicle, we're allowing these two options. And the acknowledgement of receipt in GSA Auto Choice, though, it's getting that process initiated and completed, but there would still be a requirement that all of the vehicles should be registered in gsafleet.gov. So that is still a separate step that you should take. And that's why we had said that the preferred method would be just to go ahead and complete that action from the start. But we do understand there are situations where it is, sometimes at this point it just is simpler to just go in GSA Auto Choice, and that's why we're allowing that to continue as an option for the three-way match process at this time.
Right, or if they're vehicles that you don't register that you get state plates on. So we know there's always an exception to a case.
Right.
Right. Let's see. So here's one from Norma. for vehicles ordered with CNS consignee delivery, offices are not able to get the vehicle delivery receipts. Transporters use electronic devices to record signature when vehicles dropped off. So that's getting to be very typical across that transport industry, as they're getting away from paper and going to electronic devices. They are supposed to give an email copy if you want it. They should be able to send you an email copy of that. If you're running into problems with that with any particular vendors, please let us know. You should be able to get an electronic copy of your delivery receipts from those vendors. And we've heard this and have experienced it ourselves on our own orders. So we know that's an issue that we are already addressing with the suppliers as well. Because like I said, we run into that exact same thing with our own GSA fleet leased vehicle deliveries. So something we're well aware of, Norma. Like there's one there, Amber from Robin Cooper, asking about a specific order. It looks like one we need to follow up on.
Yes.
I just pulled that one up in the vehicle buying box, and it looks like the latest response we have from the vendor was January 23rd, letting us know that these vehicles are awaiting a sled upfit at the upfitter. Not sure if we have any additional information, but someone on the vehicle buying team can contact Robin with the latest update.
Yeah, I do feel like this one has been elevated to contracting as well to get them involved because there has been a very significant delay with the vehicles. So I do believe that behind the scenes we're taking some action to try to see what we can get on this one, and we'll make sure to get you an update, Robin.
Yeah, definitely. So there's one here. Should a vehicle be registered in gsafleet.gov with a license plate number before it is shipped overseas to OCONUS? I guess that's like situation dependent, and whatever your agency does, whatever's typical, whether you run license plates or whether you run local plates or what you do there. So I'm not sure. That might be a specific case that you might have to check with us on, or check with your agency. There's one here from David Goodman. Did I hear correctly? A license plate is not essential to pick up a vehicle from a dealership. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure you're going to need some kind of license plate. But if you're a customer that uses registers vehicles with state tags, then you have to work out the timing of those state tag vehicles and getting the license plates that you need. But yeah, I mean, you're going to need a license plate to put on a vehicle if you're going to drive it off a lot. Unless you want to attract attention. Pretty sure you need a plate.
There's a question. We received our fleet vehicle yesterday and found damage on the inside. It was not noticed by the person that gave the vehicle. What do we do? Dorothy, if you can just provide more details on that, then we can follow up as needed. I think we need to gather some more information there with that.
Yeah, that'd be one you want to just send to the mailbox with the
right
order number.
Yeah, vehicle.buying at. There's a question from Joanna. If we did decide to start charging interest for vehicles to pass on the cost, would there be a warning or a couple of warnings? And yes, the answer to that is we would make sure that we would provide adequate notification well ahead of implementing any type of pass through of the interest charges. Or if we went in the direction, like I also mentioned, of restricting ordering rights in gsafleet.gov because of a backlog of acknowledgement of receipt or registering of vehicles, we would make sure to make sure there's plenty of notice that those actions would be taken.
Yeah, it's nothing we would do right now,
No.
right away, or without.
No, that's just a look like future state of what direction we may go in.
Yeah, we're still working through so many teething issues with us, with the vendors, the suppliers, with the customers. We're just making sure everybody knows this new process and the issues that we're running into with it, and finding out about it as we work through it. We learn more. So I don't think we're ready for that yet. We're not there yet.
There's a question about signing up for an account in GSA Auto Choice. So if you need any assistance with that, you can also reach out to the vehicle buying team at vehicle.buying@gsa.gov. And we can assist with any issues that you have with creating an account, logging in, etc. Our team would be happy to help with that. There's a question about at what point we'll stop entering received dates into Auto Choice. So that would be when we make the transition over and Auto Choice is decommissioned and we move over to ordering vehicles and tracking status, et cetera, solely through gsafleet.gov.
Looks like Andrew followed up with that. And when is that going to happen? Likely we're looking at, and there's a lot of stuff in play. Replacing Auto Choice is not a small thing, as you can imagine. So we're looking at this spring, sometime, maybe April, maybe that soon. So don't have any definitive dates right now, but we're working on it really hard right now to make that transition. So soon, and we'll be sending out information on it as we get information that's firmed up enough that we can let you know what's going on. We'll be communicating out.
I see the question from Norma in there about having issues with the make and model for special order vehicles, and the system automatically prompts to Ford F450. How do we get these vehicle make model accurately updated in the system? I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know if anybody's online that can answer it, but I do believe as I was working my way through the vehicle registration guide, I did see something in there in regards to how to handle these. But if you want to reach out to either me directly or to the vehicle buying mailbox, we'll see about getting you an answer for how to handle that.
There's another one. Looks like Sarah's typing. Was said,
oh, okay.
GSA drive-through go away as well. Yes, it will eventually go away. All that's going to eventually migrate over to gsafleet.gov and all that functionality. So slowly but slowly, some stuff has already moved out of drive-through and into gsafleet.gov. Is there a time frame for that? I assume you mean Heather asking, is there a time frame for that gsafleet.gov change from drive-through? So yeah, that's all coming later, over the next several months, this summer into the fall. Pieces and parts of that, both the drive-through and the leasing process are moving over to gsafleet.gov as we migrate. So it's going to be a busy spring and summer and fall for us. Another one there, will that include short-term rental as well? Yes, eventually. Short-term rental is not one of the sooner ones that we're migrating, because it's on one of our newer, when I say new, or the old platform, but newer. So it's not as critical that we replace that one as soon. So eventually short-term rental will move to gsafleet.gov as well, but it will still be available in its current state. Lourdes is asking for the link to gsafleet.gov. I think it was there on the right there on the screen there, gsafleet.gov.
There's a question from Megan about if we update the agency receive date and auto choice prior to registering the vehicle in gsafleet.gov, will the data feed into gsafleet.gov? And Sarah, I believe you're on, maybe you know, but I don't think that that actually happens. I think that it's two separate actions that have to be completed at this time.
That's correct. Going forward, though, in gsafleet.gov, once auto choice functionality is migrated over, we will be able to essentially sync those two up. So the date that if you are registering a vehicle and you enter a date that you received it, it will actually update in the store so that it's an automated feed between registration and what you see in the store, which is auto choice's replacement.
Question in there from Willie McDaniel, is there a vehicle daily dispatch function? Yeah, so that has already migrated into gsafleet.gov, that function. So if you need more information in that, just shoot us an email. We'll get you there.
There's a question from Norma. When vehicles are registered with an exemption, vehicle registration allows the user to enter the state license plate and the expiration date. There are no reports on listing that provides the additional tag's expiration date. So I actually don't know the answer to how we would go about getting the expiration date added, but I will take note of your question and I will get back to you with an answer on that.
I see the comment from Robin. There were a couple about following up with vehicle buying on previous orders to get the latest status. If that's still referring to the RF387, it's currently at the sled upfitter, and we did just reach out to them for the latest status. But if there's other orders that we haven't provided updates for, please send us an email and let us know. Thank you.
All right, there's one here, Mark Garcia. I said your name right. When we get the email about replacement ready to pick up, how many days we should pick it up and when will we start getting charged? Yeah, so if it's a vehicle you purchased, like we said earlier, we're not charging interest or anything on late pickups. We're not there yet. If it's a leased vehicle, that's a different story. We sign vehicles after a certain number of days. Okay, he says to lease. So yeah, so if you're notified to pick up a vehicle and it's ready to pick up, I think it's 8 days. After 8 days, we'll assign a vehicle if it's not picked up. But typically, I think that's what happens.
There, I see you're still responding to one question. Oh, there it is. I'll give a moment so that that individual can see that answer. But in the interim, I want to thank the panelists and thank everyone for attending today's desktop workshop. As a reminder, the slides are posted on our desktop workshop website, and a recording will be posted there as well in a couple of weeks. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.